Hey, what's up guys? Mikas here for WeMakeDanceMusic.com. In this little capsule, we're gonna talk about mastering. Mastering is a very important final step to any recording. Whether you make it on your own, on your notebook, you make it in a big studio, you record with orchestra at Abbey Road or something like that. Mastering is really key to deliver broadcast-ready material. And by that I mean that it has to fit most, if not all, sound system. A proper mastering is done by a pro that knows that it's going to be balanced, it's going to work in mono, it's going to work in stereo, it's going to work in a club, it's going to work on radio. It's important not to apply too much compression. So there's many variable here that count. So should you use a mastering engineer? Should you use an automated system on the web? Or maybe you should do it your own, maybe DIY. Some people are good at that. So in this little capsule we're going to cover that. I think the first and primary part of this is the cost. So the cost of a good mastering, really, from an engineer, it could be, really $20 from a guy that's got a website that take on mastering, to maybe $5,000 for like a professional mastering studio that has all the proper gear, that will spend the time that it need to really get the track ready for radio. Like if it's a hit, it's a label, Those really high-end mastering studio, mostly only label can offer these, because we're talking about people that are working on hits, that are giving really that very final touch that will make the track a hit, that will work on any media possible, as much on little earbuds, on super high-end sound system. It will be so balanced and clean that it will work everywhere. That's very important. So this is a mastering engineer. So you hire a studio online, or maybe you send them the master, of course through internet now. It's very simple, and you also have the opportunity, outside of hiring a mastering engineer, to do it online with a site like Landr, and there's a few others that I explored a few months back, but I cannot recall them. Landr is good. Personally, I use it. It's fairly inexpensive if you buy a plan. If you do it master by masters, it's a little bit expensive. The results are great. They're clean, they're balanced. There is definitely quality there. They don't destroy your material, they don't change it too much. It is definitely radio ready. In my opinion, it's a little bit flat. It tends to remove the character that the mastering engineer could give to your track. That somebody that really know what he is doing could really put into your track, and that does make a whole world of a difference between a track that, it sounds good. So what I can say about Landr, it sounds good. You cannot say anything about the track that is mastered on Landr. You can't say anything. It's not lively. It's not like, wow, my track came out to live. But you cannot say that there's any problem, which is definitely very good. But on the other hand, there's no enhancement done. It's stabilized, so it's flat. So if you do it your own, there's many different things to put into consideration here. Do you have the gear? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the talent? You can, like me, I've built like a mastering template that I use on most of my track, but I've been doing that for now about 18 years, mastering track and try everything. I did a chain of about 8 plugins that are layered, that there's a gain stage in between them, and this works. This works very well for me. However, my years are trained, I know the material, I know mostly my material. If you do not have a lot of knowledge, you will always be biased toward your material. By bias, I mean you just can't do very good work on your own track. It might sound weird, but this is what it is. You might think it's great, but this is not what you hear that is great. Is you have to apply a certain standard. It has to fit within a mold, because if not, you're gonna master your track, you're gonna go into the club, and it's gonna sound terrible. And trust me, I experienced that before. I give my CDs to DJs, they play the track in the club, and man, that was a shame. Audience seems to like it. Myself was like, oh my god, it was terrible. So that's a very important thing to think of. If you want to do it on your own, you have to have proper speaker. I would say at least 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7 sources that you can listen to the track on. Maybe in mono, maybe not, maybe a phone, maybe a notebook, maybe car sound systems are very good. Very important if you do that in a car, put everything to 0. Drop the EQs flat, and then you can have a reference sound to listen to your track. If it sounds good there, that's definitely a plus. Earbuds, cheap earbuds, whatever you got, headphones, good headphones, not good headphones, try to listen to it in as many sources as you want. So this take a little bit away of doing it your own, because you really have to make sure it's good. So you might spend less time because you take a track, stick it in your DAW, like I have this session open here. You stick it in your DAW, you do your mastering, and then within half an hour you get your track. But is it up to a standard? If you give it to a mastering engineer, it will be up to the standard. You can give him requests, you can say I want more dynamic, less dynamic, this mix is for this reason, this reason. That definitely changes many things here. And to get back to the cost, do it your own, free. I mean, free is good, but the time you're gonna spend is not free, so you have to consider that. So let's go into the second part of this topic, which is efficiency, which we talked a little bit about already. The efficiency is very important. So if you do it your own, great, like I said, it's great, but then you have to make sure that it is tight, you have to make sure that you have all base covered. Of course, if you master all your tracks and you know what you're doing, great, maybe it worked for you. But again, you have to make sure that you test it everywhere, which take time. So online mastering, very fast, very efficient, definitely winning here, because you stick your track on the cloud, you upload it to Landr or whichever other mastering, and then I would say within half an hour you get your master, it's ready. You have it in high quality, make some MP3, do it, drop it on SoundCloud, it is done, Of course, if you use a mastering engineer, this is a big loss here, because the mastering engineer will take some time. You will have to send it to him, and then some operate 24, 48 hours, some it's a week. I mean, you don't know. This is a bit of a constraint, because in this fast-paced world, finish a track, you think it's a bond, you just want to drop it. It's very important. So point number 3, the quality of your master. One thing that I say to a lot of people is you have to think about like your track, like it's gonna live. It's like a living piece of art. It's let's compare it to a painting. Your painting has to be perfect before you show it to people. I think it's the same thing for a track. So if you do it yourself, you might think it's right. You're the only one who's judging there. So this is a very high bias there. Online mastering, excellent. I mean, overall, cannot say anything about it. I tried Landr, another one. It was nice. One was a bit hot, but this is what they were selling. Hot in the sense of like a bit of warmth, maybe tube compression in it. Great. If you use a mastering engineer that that you really build a relationship with, he's going to be able to deliver every time. I think it's important that if you go with a mastering engineer, you build something. You just don't drop the file online and say master my track. There's some people online that are really recognized to master EDM very well. Go to those and build a relationship with them, and I think it does somehow worth the cost. The 50, 100, it could be $200. I master a few tracks at Abbey Road, which take on some mastering, by the way. If you go to Abbey Road, just look on Google. I'm not absolutely certain. I think it was £150, so $200 per track. I master a few tracks. Those live on very, very well. I listened to one just earlier today. Wow, clean, perfect, like with it, because they know it was dance music, a big bottom, pushy bottom, like on a good sound system. This is amazing. So the quality of a good engineer or somebody you trust, definitely unbeatable. Big win here on quality for the engineer. Number 4, this is very critical in music, to do a good mix down. So if you do it yourself, you trust your own mix down, you trust your own mastering, it's a bit of a loss. If you do it online, nobody's there. It's just a machine on the cloud that's doing some algorithm and mastering your track. If you have a good engineer, on the other hand, the good engineer will listen to your track and he's going to be, I'm not sure this is going to work, so you might get some feedback to improve your mix. And the very important key that nobody considering EDM, which caused me a lot of frustration, a lot of engineer too, is simple, is like you do not put compression or limiting on the main output, never. So you have a certain space to work with within a mix, the dynamic range, and you don't go over that. So if you have a dynamic range of 120 dB, you work within that. You don't slap something to make things sound louder. You work within that, and then the engineer is going to be able to raise the level if you want, but it's going to be well done. If you put already some limiting, you already, really change the quality of the track. It is not, don't ever do that. If you have doubt, just search it on the web, search any mastering handbook, mixing handbooks. Everybody knows that this is extremely important. So here again, really the mastering engineer win, you know, because he is the one who's going to give you really some good insight. So I'm not here to sell my services. I don't care. This is not what I primarily do, but I think it's important, you know. So point number 5, dynamic versus loudness. You know, are you going to leave some range, you know, or are you really going to squash it to have let's call it you know, commercial level loudness, you know, which is really complete euphemism, because there's a volume button, you know, you can always crank it up. This doesn't make any sense that it's louder. It's only louder for the DJ to listen to it on Beatport, you know, to have it super loud so it's gonna sound louder than other track. But then really good DJs experienced DJs knows that if it's super loud, when you're gonna try to mix it, it's just not gonna sound good. There's really a new wave now of people in deep house and even prog house leaving a lot of room, having a great dynamic range, doing things properly. This translates so well on big sound system. This is amazing, and compared to some big EDM track, super loud in your face, that's just it's terrible. Okay, so loudness versus dynamic range. That, you know, of course, if you do it yourself, you can slam your track if you like and leave some room. Depends on your taste. The mastering engineer will always recommend you most likely to leave some room. If you want him to slam the track, he will, but he will probably tell you don't. The online mastering, there's different levels that you can select, but really the difference is, yes, there's a bit more loudness, but it's not quite tangible in my personal opinion what the example Landr does. So again, the mastering engineer win, you know, because it's somebody. We have to go back to people. Machines are great, people are better. Punto. Okay. So point number 6 is personalization. A good mastering engineer will get to know what you're doing. Is gonna get to know what make your track great, and you know, is gonna recommend you, or you know, there's gonna be a connection somewhere where you can really build something. And I think this is a big win for personalization. If you tell him, I want this, I want, like, you know, I want some fat sound, I want something. Well, you cannot do that online, definitely not. Do it your own, you can. Again, you're gonna be super biased, you're gonna take it something, but unless you're really a trained pro, sorry, you just can't do that. So I've been at it for a long time, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up. So mastering is really an art form, guy. You do not underestimate the value of a good mastering in your track. Think about the fact that your song will live on longer than your lifetime. I mean, after you're dead, man, we're all gonna die, okay? This is a fact. Well, your song will still be alive. If it's on Spotify, I don't know, whatever it's gonna be in 50 years when I'm gonna pass away, or maybe 70 or whatever, but it will live. So think about that when you really think about mastering a track. Are you gonna spend 15 minutes into a track, or are you gonna actually think, wow, I made that piece of music, it's amazing, let's send it to a good engineer, invest some money, and then I will invest some time into that project to make it something that will be like a piece of art for me and my family to live on. So this is my last thought. So if you haven't, check the site with mikdasmusic.com, and if you're still watching, you can use the code MIKAS, MIKAS, and get 50% off your next purchase on Mikdas Music. I'm doing those capsules to try to inform people, give some insight on different things, you know, because I've been at it for 19 years now in producing music, and over 25 in the music industry, EDM in general. So I want to pass on some knowledge. I hope you guys will enjoy it, and until the next time, I'm Mikdas with you.